Hey everybody, it's Sam, your captain of adventures with Budget Boomer Adventures. Karen and I wanted to take a minute this morning and thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. We released it yesterday and we've had over 100 views, so checking statistics, that's pretty good, But we wanted to say thank you and we ask you to continue to check us out going forward. I mentioned Karen a lot, Karen and I, but Karen is not one to be on the camera like I am. I'm the face of Budget Boomers Adventures. Karen's my support team. She's there with me on these travels and excursions. She's my camera person. She's everything, She's just as important to me, her input. But eventually maybe she'll get comfortable with it. She just don't like her picture taken. Sometimes even when we're in these springs or doing other things, it all depends on what she's wearing. So anyhow, I want to explain that and to tell you that what we're trying to do is nothing new to travel. Everybody's out there giving budget conscious ideals. I never really looked at them because I never was anybody to look and like and subscribe to anything at the time. But boy, I'm obsessed with it now. But checking things out. But what we do is it's our own take on it. Everybody can give you their own take on it and their own experiences. Ours is just raw and pure. There's nothing professional about us in our filming or our delivery to you. We're just two budget boomers. Been retired for 3 years, started traveling. We do it as consciously as we can, trying to save money while having a good time. We never, skirt having a good time, if it costs us a little bit more money. But when you average in the savings, we do save money. And we're going to pass some of those ideas along with you. Everything from booking our air flights. I don't think anybody can do it as cheap as I can. I honestly don't. But anyhow, we'll see about that. We'll give you some of those pointers, teach you, or tell you, not teach you, but tell you how we pack. We don't take a carry-on. We take a personal item. We put enough clothes in a personal item, for at least 7 to 10 days. And a few extra things like my mask, snorkeling, fins. And we go. Sometimes we layer up, so when we get there, it depends on how long the flight is, so we've got clothes under it. So we can take them off and have those extra clothes. And there's always places to wash clothes. But anyhow, we put all this stuff in these travel bags. We fly in just as cheap as we can. This particular trip, within the first hour, we were getting wet in our first spring, which was Rock Springs at Kelly Park. And I'm saying springs, I hadn't even told you about it, but Karen and I was traveling to Panama back earlier in the summer, and we were going across the back roads, as I call it, and I kept seeing this sign saying Ponce de Leon, Florida. And I kind of knew who Ponce de Leon, I was absent in school a lot, but I do remember who he was. But I Googled it real quick as we're going down the road, and I saw that there was this spring there. And I said, Fountain of Youth, Ponce de Leon, Fountain of Youth. So Karen said, well, where are we headed? I said, there's this spring down here. You know who Ponce de Leon is? She said, yeah. And I said, you discovered Fountain of Youth. And I think it's right up here in front of us. And I think when we get there, we're going to drive this car off in it. And we're going to try rebirthing ourselves a few years. So we got a chuckle out of that. But anyhow, we got there, and it cost us $4 to get in this state park. And this place was covered. I think it was a Wednesday, maybe a Thursday that we got there. But this place was covered up with people. And they were picnicking and kids running around and everything. But I could see in front of me this most beautiful turquoise blue water I'd ever seen. And as we got closer, that was the spring, I guess. And this is what I guess I learned later was the spring head. That's where the water comes up out of the ground, has for years and years. God's amazing grace that has been doing that for so many years and continues to do so. And then we noticed back over behind us that people were going and floating down this thing over here. And we learned later that this is called the spring run. So the water continues out of it and it runs to a main tributary somewhere to a muddy water and floats on down probably to the Gulf of Mexico. But we had to get wet, or at least I did. So I think Karen was ready at that time. We knew we had to go on to Panama, so we didn't get totally wet. So I had on shorts, waded out to about my knees. She rolled her pants up, got wet just a little bit, but we waded that thing, and it was beautiful. And we learned over the time that these spring runs were as beautiful as the springs themselves, and as much a part of the springs as they are. So that's how we got hooked, or I got hooked. So when I got home, I started doing research and discovered there's over 1,000 natural springs in the state of Florida. I've been going to Florida for years, but it's always been about the beach and, good food and things like that. And as I've gotten older, laying on the beach doesn't appeal to me near as much as it did when I was younger, especially with all these age spots and things that I've got, beauty marks. But anyhow, we discovered those things, and I started doing research on it, and I planned us a trip, and I called it a Central Florida Springs Hop. We flew into Orlando, Florida. We saw one spring. Within an hour after landing, we were getting wet at Rock Springs at Kelly Park. We left there and drove up to Ocala National Forest, where we saw about 5 more springs there. Then we spent the night in Ocala, Florida. Went back and saw a few more springs at the national park. Then we hightailed it back to Crystal River, Florida, where there's over 70 of these natural springs. We headquartered out of there for a couple of days, saw several beautiful, beautiful springs, ate a lot of good food. But then our final destination we had planned would be Clearwater Beach, Florida. We couldn't make it all about the springs, so, get that close, we had to go there. We booked Airbnb there at a hotel, retro hotel that had been renovated and made modern, and you would not believe it. We stayed there for 3 days for a little over $300 on Clearwater Beach. We'll show you how you can do that. We'll tell you how you can do that. But we got there, and it was all about the Jolly Trolleys. We discovered those when we were there. I think I heard about it before then and looked into it. And once we got there, public transportation on these fancy little trolleys that run up and down the coastline. So the 5th day that we were there, or the first day that we were there, our 5th day on this adventure, we went north along the coastline, went through this beautiful little town called Dunedin, Florida. It's absolutely gorgeous. We fell in love with it. But from there, we went on up to the sponge capital of the world, Tarpon Springs. We ate lunch there. We walked along the sponge docks to see the catch that the guys had got that morning, birthday sponges in. I'm talking about sponges like you take a bath with. But after taking in all that, we walked down to Craig Park, which was also a beautiful park there in Tarpon Springs. And from there, we caught the Jolly Trolley back to Clearwater in our hotel. You know how us budget boomers are. About 4 o'clock, 3:30, it's time for a nap. We took a nap. Woke up, and everybody tells us how beautiful downtown Tampa, Florida was at night. So we planned that trip. We headed across the causeway, but we had decided that we would eat on Tampa Bay on our way on the causeway at a place called Whiskey Joe's. And we were there at sunset on the dock. The background you're seeing right now is that sunset as we were sitting there. And it was absolutely beautiful. Went on downtown Tampa Bay, the lights down there along that river walk with all the activity shops and people there and vendors and so forth. It was absolutely something to see. Doesn't cost you anything to do it. We get back to our hotel room that night, wake up the next morning. We decide to go south on the Jolly Trolleys. We go all the way to St. Petersburg, St. Pete Beach. We get down there, we turn around, we start coming back up Madeira Beach, Treasure Island Beach. I think we were Indian Rocks after we stopped a time or two. And then finally back to Clearwater Beach, the actual beach. We were staying at Clearwater Beach, but we went to the beaches that final day. But one place I want to tell you about is John's Pass. I don't care if you're in Tampa, Clearwater, anywhere, you got to go to John's Pass and see that. It's worth your time and your trip and your effort. It won't cost you anything unless you decide to eat and shop there. But we woke up the next day and we knew we had to fly out the day after, so we headed back towards Orlando. But on the way, we stopped at a couple of springs. And, they say the best are always saved for last. Well, this is certainly true because once we got north of Orlando, out to a place called De Leon Springs, not Ponce de Leon, but De Leon Springs, we visited De Leon Spring. A family-friendly, people everywhere, gorgeous walk-in, picnic areas, everything. And it was absolutely beautiful. And I keep using the words absolutely beautiful. I don't know any other ways to describe it. we left there and we came back down to the cream of the crop. Blue Springs State Park and Blue Springs. This beautiful magnitude spring with water coming up out of it, this beautiful spring run. It's there that I got the unexpected pleasure to swim with 3 manatees. You know, right now there's people paying thousands of dollars to go to Florida to swim with these things, and I did it by accident. And I'm going to show you these things in our videos. But once we left there, there was one spring that everybody told us we had to see, which is called Wekiwa Spring. We didn't see it when we flew in because they said there's no way that you'll get into it. We tried getting into it the day that we got back to Orlando, but we found out this is the only spring you got to have a reservation. That's just how busy it is. So we got us a hotel room at Alamonte Springs, and I booked me a reservation. Well, Karen said, I'm tired. I want to sleep in, because we also did a scenic boat tour of the canals of Winter Park. And I'll tell you about that in a second. But I got up at 6:30 the next morning, and by 7 o'clock I was in Wekiwa Springs. It didn't matter. It's 72-degree water. If I go down there right now in the middle of winter, it's 72 degrees. So getting in it, it's kind of like me getting in my swimming pool in my backyard. Kind of hold my breath for the first second, then everything's good. But I had that place kind of by myself, so luckily when I made the reservation, it was early enough, there wasn't a lot of people there, and I got to enjoy it by myself. Well, there's a few other people. But got back to hotel room, got something to eat, and Karen and I made it down to that scenic boat tour there in Winter Park. And it was along the canals. We got to see all the beautiful homes along that and these beautiful canals that a timber company made years ago to transport timber between those lakes to their big sawmill there. And we'll tell you more about those as our adventure continues. But we flew out that afternoon and came home after we refueled our car and got back to the airport. And we flew home back into Memphis, Tennessee late that afternoon. And it wrapped up our 8-day adventures in Central Florida. And again, I just wanted to take the time to thank you for checking us out and ask you to please continue. We're going to start releasing these videos of these springs. I think I've got 20 videos. And beside that, we're going to throw in some other things. We own a lot of rental property. I do a lot of renovations, a lot of repairs on them, and I'm going to show you some money-saving tips on doing those, on how to repair doors, windows, and so forth of that. I actually took a 6x10 trailer, utility trailer, and made a full camper out of it with a bathroom, commode, kitchen, bed, place to watch television. And I think you'll enjoy seeing that and how we did that. But those type things we're going to be doing. Like I say, it's nothing new, but it's just our twist on it. So remember, boomers, adventure's calling. We just answer cheaper.